From the Bent Pixel Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Phone Booth Fighting, a weekly podcast talking about the world of mixed martial arts and beyond with that guy, Frank Mir, the two-time UFC heavyweight champion, and this guy,
Richard Hunter.
I'll leave it up to you.
Reno's funniest comedian.
Still milking that.
Yeah, hey,
for
man.
all I can. Yep, absolutely. That's my big comedic credit.
How's the show going on Sundays?
Great. Everything's going well. I'll be back if anybody's in the Las Vegas area. I will be at the LA Comedy Club inside the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino on the last Sunday of March and the first Sunday of April. So if you're going to be around, hit me up on social media and send me your name. And just because you're a listener to Phone Booth Fighting, I will put you on my guest list. Hey, Porno Mikey's back. We got the band back together. Welcome back, Porno Mikey. You have been
does your girl listen to the show?
Missed.
No.
Okay, so Porno Mikey's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Damn it. Well, she doesn't have to subscribe. See if she'll at least give us the 5-star review on iTunes.
Okay, I did download the show in her phone so that we get the downloads.
Okay,
so
that's good.
And then I have to, I think well, she got a new phone, but at one point she's like, I have no space on my phone because it had like every episode of Phone Booth Fighting to go in there deleted.
2 years worth of Phone
She's not curious to hear you?
No, yeah, it's weird, but like occasionally, like when we kennel Kona, we'll throw on YouTube because her room, it has a window that's like leads up right to the house, so we throw YouTube on, and so I always throw the show on, and she's seen me on there for like a couple seconds, but she just goes like, "Oh, that was you," and then she just kind of leaves and does what her thing.
The dog has that reaction, or you mean?
No, Amanda has.
Amanda has that reaction.
Come on,
Geez,
the dog
can't even hold the dog's attention. This is awful.
We're worried that if you guys ever come to the house that like, and you start talking, that Kona will just run to her kennel and like.
Oh yeah.
She's been conditioned.
Yeah. Well, make sure Kona clicks on the 5 stars as well on iTunes with her big paw, because that is how we stay highly ranked among iTunes podcasts. We would ask that you guys do that as well if you haven't done it yet. It won't cost you anything, of course. And if you have a spare moment, write a favorable line or two in the review section, and we'll be reading those on the air. It's about time for us to read another batch of them here pretty soon. Hey, one other quick shout out I want to mention before I forget, and we get into talking MMA and fights going down this weekend and fights that went down this past weekend and a bunch of other stuff we got to talk about. So our buddy Hal Sparks, my longtime friend that is your friend I've introduced you to and we've had on the show before, he and I a couple of times a month are doing a podcast solely focused on hard rock. If you're a fan of hard rock, the podcast is called the Double Neck Download. So if you like any kind of 80s music, hard rock, hair metal, whatever you want to call it, check it out. Give it a listen, see what you think. Just went up the first episode, so it's around iTunes, all the usual places. DoubleNeckDownload.com is the website. Our first guest was Phil Verone, who from Skid Row, Saigon Kick, currently playing with Jakey Lee's band. So give it a listen, check it out. Hal, of course, from VH1's I Love the 80s, Talk Soup, all that kind of stuff. So Frank was very kind. I went to him a couple of weeks ago and was like, hey, a couple times a month I'm going to help Hal out with this, because I felt like it's like it was kind of like having the discussion about a semi-open marriage, I was like, no, listen, I love you. I love you, Frank.
I'm still number 1, but this will be at number 2.
See, Frank would do other podcasting, but he would go to foreign shores to do it, right? Yes. You were doing one with Brian Lacey.
I followed the zip code law.
Yeah, that's when he was. That's when I caught him. He was trying to plead.
I'm like, hey, man.
Yeah.
Different zip code. Doesn't count.
Anyway, give it a listen. We'd appreciate it. Hal just getting that thing off the ground. All right. So this weekend, Frank, Jorge Masvidal and Darren Till are going to throw down in a welterweight attraction. Speaking of foreign shores, over in London, England, it's going to be on ESPN Plus, the new app. And Masvidal's been out of action since 2017. He's been on. Is it going to be a year and a half maybe by the time he gets in there Saturday? Something like that. It's been a lot. I think it's the longest layoff of his career. And, of course, Till is coming up short in a title shot against now former welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, the guy who was champion at the time. First thoughts when I see this fight come down is probably not a lot of wrestling going on. You got a couple of guys who are probably going to stand in front of each other and trade. A couple of guys with Muay Thai backgrounds, although I think their approach to that is a little different. You know, Till has that kind of different stance, almost kind of like a karate stance, you know, kind of like what Connor does and what
I call it a Dutch
Machida
kickboxing
does.
stance.
Okay, yeah.
Much more bladed.
Okay, yeah. So he's got that approach, which is a little different than Masvidal, but Till's also got great takedown defense. So you look at it, you know, the other thing that jumps out at me too is if Till only has the one defeat, which was to Tyron Woodley, Masvidal, of course, has had a much longer career. He's got a few defeats, but one thing about his record is when he loses, it's by decision. That seems to be the only way to beat him in the UFC. So against that backdrop, what are your first thoughts when you see this fight?
Well, I think that Darren Till, I don't know, I kind of got the impression he was a little shell-shocked in his title shot against Woodley. I mean, he didn't land at anything of any significance. It didn't seem like he really put up much of an offense. I think he was hesitating and second-guessing himself, and really I think this fight's going to tell if he's able to recover from that. You know, he's probably sat there, looked at it, and smoldered, and hopefully, for his sake, that it's been something he'll be inspired to remedy. So I think he'll come out, and you're either going to see two forms of him, really, a better version that he was, or he's going to just, you know, be flat in the, you know, like the equivalent of a batter being in a slump, and even a worse performance than his last time, because, you know, coming up gun shy against Tyron Woodley on that night didn't look as bad as probably he felt performance wise, but coming up gun shy against Jorge Masvidal, who's a very game fighter, but not of the credentials of Tyron Woodley, it'll look even more of a poor performance.
Yeah, and Till, for his part, has been vocal about the fact that he wants to come out starting fast, that he thinks that was he's saying it's going to be a first-round finish, but he's obviously acknowledging that that's something that happened to his detriment against Woodley.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, I think that's why I really think Till will come out guns a-blazing and do very well in this fight. And I think that, you know, Masvidal is a great fighter for him to have a backdrop again, that someone's going to stand there and exchange back. I think Till will just edge him out technique-wise, and you know, will be on the better end of the exchanges. I don't see him knocking Jorge out at this point. Jorge, you know, doesn't really ever get knocked out, so, you know, I don't think Till will be the guy to do it. I mean, hell, anybody, you know, it could happen, but I'm willing to see a really great performance from Till, and Jorge still standing there when, you know, on the closing bell. But I think that it's understandable why he was gun shy. I mean, Woodley, you know, up until his last fight, looked like one of the best welterweight champs that ever was. He has the, you know, he had the wrestling of George St. Pierre, but the knockout power of a Robbie Lawler. He, you know, that's why, you know, well, in his last fight, I really picked him to beat Usman. I didn't think that his time had come yet. And so when you're fighting a guy that's a dual threat like that, you have guys that are good strikers, a great takedown, you don't want to be taken down. And you have guys that hit hard, and you're like, okay, I don't want to get hit by him. But dealing with a guy that was a dual threat, that was an issue. And I think that's why he was so hesitant. Hopefully he can shake that, and I don't see why he would be hesitant again against Masvidal.
Yeah, Masvidal only knocked out one time in his career and submitted twice, but has not been finished in a fight in 10 years. You'd have to go all the way back to Bellator to find an example of that happening. Now, for Till's part, I mean, you know, you talk about the challenges of fighting a fighter like Woodley, who is going to be much more willing to be more cautious in the fight. Do you think there's something to the idea that Masvidal just isn't that kind of fighter, that the fact that he's going to be more of a pressure forward fighter is going to, on Till's upside, play in as a benefit?
Yes,
potentially.
Well, it'll force him to not think so much and just react and move and fight. Sometimes you'll see fighters that have a lot of technical prowess, and if the other guy's not pushing the pace, sometimes they need that. They kind of, you know, not that Till's a counter fighter per se, but some fighters just need the other guy to you know, enforce the action, to I always say wake them up. And in fact, whenever I've sparred or went with someone, I always tell people, like, well, don't wake the sleeping giant. Like, what do you mean? I'm all, hey, the guy's really good. Just don't put him in a war. He'll, all of a sudden, you can peck away at him, make it a boring fight. And at the end of it, all of a sudden, he doesn't even realize he just was in a fight and the fight's over with. But if you go in there and you rock him or you hit him with a shot and you challenge his manhood, well, then you're going to turn him on, and now you got a fight on your hands. And I think Till probably is almost one of those kind of guys where, when fighting Woodley at his pace slowed him down, and then by the time what was it, 2 rounds in, he got choked. So I don't think he had any kind of opportunity to really get enthused into the fight. I don't see that being an issue with Masvidal. I don't think Masvidal, if you were in his corner, could fight a controlled, slow pace and be like, hey, let's fight kind of boring. Let's throw a couple jabs, inside kick. Let's just kind of point the guy and just, let's not turn him on, and maybe we can just edge him out on a real boring decision. I don't think Masvidal would even, he might agree with you, but he's not going to do it.
You think size factors into this in any way? I mean, until you've got a guy who has to cut a lot of weight, had weight cutting problems before. In Masvidal, you've got a guy who has fought at lightweight. So, I would think their height-wise, all that sort of thing is pretty similar, but I would think come fight night, Till's probably going to be a bigger fighter.
And also, too, Till, what's his reach? I don't know it offhand, but he seems just to be bone structure so much bigger than everybody else.
Yeah, but Masvidal has a long reach. I'll tell you here exactly in just one second. But not Masvidal is a guy who's got a long reach for his weight class as well.
Till has a half-inch reach advantage.
Oh,
there we go.
74 versus 74.5.
Yeah, that's pretty negated.
Yeah. Do you think, as far as that size difference, though, I mean, you think that that's something that could be apparent? You
know what? When it comes to guys in a striking match, the number I look at is reach more than I look at weight. If I know we're going to grapple, I'm like, okay, these two guys are going to grind it out in a grappling match. Then I flip it. I care a little bit more about weight than I do about reach. Because I've just noticed it. Like, if we take like probably the most pure form of grappling, let's just say international wrestling. One of the factors that almost all the champions have is strength, and strength can be correlated to weight. So that's why they all will kill themselves to suck down to a weight class that they, that way the strength is not going to be a factor. You don't really hear those guys talk about, well, man, that guy's arm reach for him to hit an ankle pick or change levels on a double, it might come up, but nowhere near the same amount as weight and strength come into a factor of, man, that guy felt heavy, man. He just put his hands on the back of my head and just blew my back out. Just the heavy hands, the heavy body weight. But on the flip side, if you watch boxing, which is probably the most isolated version of striking, reach matters all the time. I think that it's almost weight class by height than it is by body weight. It's more of a concern. I mean, if you think about it, like, look at Deontay Wilder, our American heavyweight champ. He only weighs about 225 pounds, 220. He could very easily make a 205 weight class. If he were to fight in MMA, he would fight light heavyweight. But here he's knocked out every guy except for his last opponent that's ever faced him, his reach. That is one of the factors that make him to his right hand. I mean, his leverage, his insertions, his connections, ability to generate power. But it's his reach that, is such a daunting factor to get past. It's like, man, that guy can hit you from halfway across the boxing ring.
Darren Till sits ranked number 3, and Masvidal sits at 11. I mean, probably due largely to inactivity. But it sounds like these two guys are closely ranked together in the standings. This is one of those situations where, at least rankings-wise, Till has a lot more to lose than Masvidal. I mean, if Masvidal were to lose a close fight, he still probably hovers around that. Well, no, if he were to win, he would. But if let's say he loses a close one, he's still, maybe he moves up a spot or two, but he's still kind of hovering around that 10. But for Till, when you talk about title shots and being at number 3, especially the fact that you've now had a new champion, so you're not even talking about making a rematch of somebody you challenged before. I just see that as being a lot for, there's a lot of external factor there for Till, whether or not he takes that into consideration. That's on the line here.
And I think that one way of matchmaking that doesn't require throwing a lot of money at people is that both sides have to have an upside.
Yeah.
So, fighter A and fighter B, I have to be able to present a case to both guys why this is an advantageous fight for you. So I could see if I was talking to Till, be like, hey, here's a guy, your last fight was a little on the boring side as far as for you. You didn't really come out, you looked flat, whatever the case may be. We understand. But here we're going to put you against a guy you have no choice but to fight. He's going to make it an exciting fight. You're technically superior than he is in the striking realm, so you should win. And as you do, it's going to be an exciting fight that will help erase your past performance. So then Till's corner goes, yeah, this is okay. A guy who we are better than, that will put us and make us look good, a great dance partner. Then on Masvidal's side, I can see them saying to him, like, hey, here's the number 3 guy, just came off a title shot. You've been inactive for 18 months. You're number 11. You go out there and you beat this guy. Even if you barely beat him, you're going to skyrocket up points. In fact, if you were to barely lose to him and make it a close fight, which you haven't been knocked out in 10 plus years, your status is going to move up. So there's nothing but upside for him.
And Masvidal has been fighting 16 years, and this is only the second time that he's lost 2 fights in a row. Talk about durability.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Well, that will be an exciting attraction Saturday, headlining the ESPN Plus card over in London. Now, this past weekend, your heavyweight division, Frank, headlined the ESPN Plus card in Wichita, Kansas. Former opponent of yours, Junior Dos Santos, defeats Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast, at 1 minute and 58 seconds into the second round. Dos Santos finishes Lewis, and in the fight, Lewis, it looked like initially doubled over pretty badly from a kick to the abdomen, and was able to continue fighting, made it out of the round, but seemed like he never quite recovered from that. Reports after the fight said that he had a pretty serious knee injury that he was dealing with, and basically wasn't able to train for, I believe his coach said, since like really the beginning of February, more or less. They weren't able to do anything on it. But that didn't look like a knee injury to me so much as it did. What is that? I mean, what is that when that happens? I mean, it didn't look like a. It looked like a roundhouse kick to the gut, so it wasn't like a teep kick or something like that.
Well, I mean, I think that. I mean, besides, I think Hunt hitting him in the head, Derrick has a thick skull. You know what I mean? So I think but he has a soft body. I mean, he does. If you remember the fight with even Travis Brown. Yeah. Caught him with a body shot, put his toes, I think, a teep to the midsection, and you seen that he was visibly hurt. Yeah. And so, but being tough, he was able to recover. I thought that was very smart on Dos Santos' part, that even though he had him hurt, stayed smart and then didn't take him out till later on. Whereas, I mean, Lewis is that kind of fighter that he could have been crumpled over, and all of a sudden you run to finish him out, and he turns around and blasts you. And really, that's the only way I thought that he would be able to beat JDS, is because JDS's footwork and his boxing. I mean, he really is one of the better boxers in MMA. I mean, his footwork, his elusiveness, his ability to move in out and hit and avoid danger. But if he comes in for the kill, he's committed. And then as the bigger, more powerful guy who doesn't move as well, if you see your guy coming in for the kill, you're like, oh, there you are. He could finally, tee down on him. And so I think that it was very smart of JDS not to give him that opportunity.
Did you see Junior singing R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly" at the post-fight press conference?
No, I didn't watch the post-fight.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah. I don't think it was. I don't think he really had the Surviving R. Kelly documentary on his mind. I think he was excited because he was in a real singing mood, because after the fight he
does like to sing.
Yeah, he sang "Happy Birthday" to his kid who was turning 2 or 3, I think. So I think he was just in a mood to croon. But yeah, maybe not the most apropos choice given the current state of affairs, but he probably wasn't thinking about that. That may not have played as big in Brazil. I don't know. Anyway.
No, I think Brazil has to know. I mean, you go to Brazil and everything that's American pop culture is just as well known down there.
See if you can find that, Mikey. I'll throw you a curveball. While Mikey's looking for that, for Junior Dos Santos singing the hits of R. Kelly after his win over Derrick Lewis, Conor McGregor got arrested again in the last 48 hours or so, Frank. Coming out of the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach, 5 a.m., a guy comes up to him and wants to take a picture. Conor takes the guy's cell phone, smashes the cell phone, then picks up the cell phone, puts it in his pocket, and leaves with it. So he's charged with destruction of property and theft of property, I guess, and maybe some sort of ancillary assault of the dude whose hand he grabbed it out of, and he gets bailed out. So I don't think this means a prison term for him. I will say it's fortuitous that he had just completed his probation, like I think a few days earlier on the whole New York thing with his community service or whatever he did. I think those two had overlapped. He would have had a bigger problem. But, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind about this is a couple of years ago, I interviewed Conor, and I remember it came up, something was going on with John Jones at the time, which doesn't narrow down I mean, it was one of those, right?
So it could have been anywhere between now and 2012.
Yeah. But whatever it was happening right then. Like it had happened within the last day or two or something. And Conor said, I remember him saying, reacting to it in a way of like he just didn't understand, like, God, why would you do that? You know, when you're on top of the world and you're a champion and you're making all that money, like, because Conor was still, and I can't even remember if he had won the featherweight title yet, so it may be more than a few years ago when I asked him this. But the point being, his star was on the rise. He was ascending, but you know, you could kind of tell where he was headed, but he wasn't exactly where he is today. But that was Conor then, who had this mindset of, gosh, why would somebody ever just spin out of control like that? That was, to paraphrase, that's basically what he was saying in response to it. Now you're seeing somebody spin out of control, you know? I mean, there's really no, in this kind of situation, whether or not you can say you were in any way antagonized, there's not going to be any real justification for something like that. You think there is?
Well, I put myself in Conor's shoes, and I imagine myself walking out of the Fontainebleau at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And if my wife's not around and someone pulls out a camera phone, and I'm very upset that there's a camera phone, and I smash it, and that's still not good enough, I need to take it to make sure the evidence is not there.
Yeah.
Why do I hate that phone so badly?
Yeah.
I think that we need to realize that he came out and either I think he was probably high as fuck and looked high as fuck. And I think he also had company that wasn't Mrs. McGregor.
Oh, you don't think it was like the guy was trying to photograph him with like an iPhone X and he's just a Samsung guy? Nah, it wasn't like that?
Maybe a bad Snapchat filter.
Yeah.
Didn't want the puppy ears on it.
Wait, let me look at the picture. Oh, I hate that picture. Delete it.
Had he just grabbed the guy's phone and smashed it through it, I could have said, oh, he's just high and he's fucked up, you know, and he's not thinking straight. Maybe the guy put his arm around him the wrong way, said something stupid. You know, and so he just, out of anger. But the fact he picked the phone up and put it in his pocket made sure he wanted to guarantee that he could, you know, go back and erase photos or take care of it. It's like, well, what was in the photos that you were so fucking nervous about? Well, I mean, McGregor's past, and you know, and a lot of the accusations that have come up, you know, from his home country of him and women that aren't his wife and even children that probably that are out of wedlock. You know, I mean, come on. I was born and raised in Vegas. I'm around it all the time. If I'm a betting man, I'm betting that, well, you probably, you know, had his arm around a girl that wasn't his, and, you know, and probably would have made it worse in his mind. And he's right. It would have been much worse if they'd have caught him like, oh, here's McGregor coming out with 2 whores and looks fucking coked and drunk, and you know, rather than, well, he got pissed off at a friend, you know, with a picture and he smashed his phone. Which one's the lesser of the two evils?
Let's look at do we have the video ready of the guy, the guy whose phone he smashed? Because that guy recorded a video. And
give me a second.
Yeah, TMZ posted it. I don't know if he sent it directly to them or whatever, but he gave his version of I think it's the link with the Conor headline. He gave his version of the events, and I think one of the things he said, Frank, he talks about in the video, is that he claims Conor like faked a handshake, like went in for the, because I think the guy was here he is. So here's the guy was asking for a picture, and we'll hear it in his words. Okay, here it is. We gotta get our audio happening here. There we go.
Live on a Sunday. Blueface was there, so we just seeing what was popping. So there was quite a few A-list celebrities over there, innit? You know how it goes down with Birdman, Blueface. There was a few NBA players and NFL stars over there.
Let me translate for you, Frank, because I know you're not hip. So you heard him say he was just wanting to see how it was popping. That means that's what the kids say when they want to see like what the action is like. And then he just ran down some A-list celebrities, and I think one of them was named Blueface. That's what I think he said.
That's
Mikey?
your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, very good. Yeah.
All right, let me
go ahead
and pick it up here.
Yeah.
So what happened was we see McGregor in the club, and it was all cool, whatnot. And then on the way out, we were just waiting for our vehicle from the valet. So we were just waiting for our vehicle to pick it up, and then as soon as we go pick it up, I see Conor McGregor. So I'm there, I try to take out my little phone. And as soon as I bring out my phone, McGregor's there, like, he come and he tried to come shake my hand, like, he came to shake my hand, and as soon as he come shake my hand, he pulled me in, and he grabbed my phone and started smashing it, and all his security guards literally surrounded me, pushed me out of the way, and he's stomping it on it. There's a video that's going to be released real soon. It was being a lot rude, so he was just like, get the fuck out of my face, you don't, like, move. And then I was like, yo, sir, can I have my phone back? And then there was a security and his entourage around him, and I asked them, yo, can I get my phone back, please? And then they was like, yo, move, man, move. You better listen to Conor say what Conor say. McGregor picked the phone up, put it in his pocket, laughed, and then he got in his, I think it was like an SUV, big car, Cadillac or whatever it was, and they drove off literally. So that's when the hotel manager come to me and said, listen, I'll sort this out, don't worry. I got pictures of my son that I didn't even save in my iCloud. Like, I'm gonna lose that as well, innit? So that's what pissed me off the most. I got pictures of my son, like, you get me, that I'm probably never gonna ever get again. So yeah, unfortunately on that, yeah.
This guy's name is Ahmed Abdizirik from the UK. I like the thing he did at the end.
The kid pictures.
Pictures of my son. And you know what? I didn't even have them backed up to the iCloud. I've lost them forever. That'll come up in the civil suit. Yeah. What are those worth?
Yeah, like I said, man, I think McGregor looked up, saw a guy with a phone, and immediately, you know, the guy's pulling the phone out. He's doing this. He doesn't know if he's recording him or not, and he went right into defensive mode. It wasn't like the guy said right there. I mean, you hear, I didn't put his arm around him. I didn't take a selfie. There was no interaction. All it drove Conor nuts was an iPhone or, you know, whatever he had, you know. I mean, I can understand why you're tripping out. If you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, you don't want to be seen. The last thing you want to do is see a guy going, ah.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, I don't know. On the other hand, I think you've got to be careful about not overplaying that hand too, because something can happen to where you inadvertently call attention to something that wasn't getting any attention.
Here's the thing. The guy didn't even notice anybody but Conor.
Yeah.
So here, if the guy had said, oh, I saw Conor come out with 3 or 4 girls, I mean, there was women, men, it's a big club. Yeah. He did make a connection. I think Conor jumped the gun.
Yeah.
But because of his own guilty conscience, he knew what he was doing, and he projected that upon the other guy. Fuck, the other guy, look at him, he knows, and he's pulling out a phone. He's going to take a picture. So, boop, be straight to the guy and eliminate the phone. The guy only noticed Conor. I mean, the guy was probably starstruck and not looking around. I mean, maybe the guy would have figured it out after a few minutes of going, well, hey, you know, like, what's going on here, you know?
I'm going to tell you a funny story that I have to, I'm not going to say who this was.
You got to edit some names here?
Yeah.
Those are the best stories.
I'm not going to tell you who this was. But let's just say it's one of my, in recent years, one of my proudest passive-aggressive moments where I felt like I really solidly turned the tables on somebody. there was a very famous fighter, I'll say that, who I encountered, and I didn't know them well, but they would know who I was. I've interviewed them before, things like that. And I walked into a gym, and I was doing something. I was texting or something on my phone, and this person who was in the gym, right out of the gate, the very first, not hello, not anything else, and it was kind of a group setting. I walk in, I'm texting on my phone or whatever, and that person said, "Are you tweeting about me?" Like, the assumption would be that as soon as I saw them, I would be jumping on my Twitter to tweet something about them. And I looked at them and I said, "Oh, no, sorry, I'm busy doing something else." I said, "I mean, I can do that for you in a little bit if you want. I just need to finish what I'm doing. But just remind me later." And I totally flipped it around where I was like, "Oh, is your ego so fragile that you want to make sure that I'm tweeting?" And the confusion on their face was like, "What? No, that's not what I." And they didn't say it, but you could just see that look, like, "Damn it, you reversed it on me."
I've had a problem with phones when I'm training.
Yeah,
when I'm in the gym, and especially most of the gyms I train at is an open forum. People can come in, and when you're getting close to a fight, I hate looking over and seeing people like doing this, because I'm like, if you're working on something or there's some kind of strategy you think you see in your opponent, the last fucking thing I want is the other guy to catch wind of it and be like, "Hey, Frank noticed you don't defend shots to your left side. Look at him practicing all these shots to the left side."
Yeah.
Then your camp gets that 2 weeks before. You're like, well, let's work on something that, if he comes to that side, let's have,
Yes, but now that is, but to be fair, anybody that's in a gym doing that, they're not up to speed on kind of what the protocol, like even if somebody innocently did that, it shouldn't be very long before the owner of the gym or somebody went over to them, "Hey, don't do that."
But on the flip side, I wouldn't do that in public. Okay, I remember one time, this is when I first realized, because it's funny, because people, especially at the height of my career, being a multiple-time champion, I've had male friends or acquaintances be like, "Hey, man, must be fucking nice, like, decent-looking guy, you're on pay-per-view." I'm like, "No, it's not." He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm like that kitten at a fucking at the pet shop. I'm like, I only can see the world through a piece of glass. I can't interact whatsoever." He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm all, "These fucking things, dude. Ever since 2007, I can't do shit." You can't. Not that you want to as a person. I'm not, putting blame in that direction. But have you had any, like, if I even had a weak moment where I was at a club and I'm like, "That girl looks hot. Maybe Mrs. Mir won't know." I always envisioned the time that my wife, I forgot what I was doing at the time before my phone became such a prominent part of my life. I was probably actually reading a book. And my wife comes over and goes, "Frank, look at this shit." I'm like, "What?" So she shows me, and it's a YouTube video, or I don't know if it was on YouTube, but of Chuck Liddell at Pure making out with two different girls, and some asshole is videotaping it and then posted it. And I'm just sitting there going, "Hey, look, I realize that, he's not acting appropriately, but fuck, man, that's his business." You know what I mean? And at the same time, like I couldn't do that. If I saw fucking Floyd Mayweather walk into a club and I saw him like, "Oh, that's not Floyd's wife," or whoever he's dating at the time, I wouldn't videotape him acting inappropriately and then post it so I could. It's like, why? You're involving yourself in people's lives that I just feel uncomfortable with that. I'm just that guy. Unless, you know what I mean? Like, if I found out my brother's wife was cheating on him, I might call like, "Hey, we need to get together and figure this out." But short of that, like, I'm pretty much that person. I just tell people like, "Hey, I don't want to be involved." You know what I mean? Like, I can watch in, and if I see, I'm like, "Hey, isn't that so-and-so's wife?" I'm all, "Yep." "You going to say something?" "Not my fucking business, man." Mm-hmm. I'm out of this. Because what ends up happening, on a short note, I've noticed every time when I was younger, I'd be like, "Hey, you get involved, the couple reconcile, and you're the fucking asshole." Yeah. They get back together, they forgive each other, and then you're like, you're the dick that fucking ratted and involved yourself, or you make them uncomfortable now because you remind them of a period of time. So that's why I'm like, it's better to stay uninvolved.
You know what I would do? Okay, so I'm thinking, how would I do this? Strategically, if that was what I was trying to get away with, I think what I would do is, if I were the guy like in Chuck's position and these two girls, I would be like, "Okay, so the whole time we're leaving, or Connor, whatever, the whole time we're leaving this club, I'm going to be loudly saying, would you two get away from me? I told you I am a happily married man. You women of ill repute, be gone. And basically would do that all the way to the valet, right? And then, you know, and then I'll be like, just, you know, I'll be trying to, like, keep you out of the car or whatever, the car will speed away. I guess then worst case there would just be a video of something that looked like that.
You know, the easiest way I can usually see who's with who?
Yeah.
And this comes from my experience of working in the Rhino. It's funny how the 8 years I worked as a bouncer at a strip club accelerated my knowledge of the scumbaggery of the human race.
Yeah, right.
Drugs, sex, and money at its worst, right?
Yeah.
And so I forgot where we were, but it was a famous, I mean, like, ultra famous motherfucker, right? And my wife's sitting there, she goes, oh, there's so-and-so. I'm like, oh, and I'm looking, and I can see that someone comes over and is talking to him, and then they go and they sit back down again. I'm all, oh, well, there's his gopher, and you see the girl he's sitting next to. I'm like, you notice how she's really hot? She's not talking to anybody else? And my wife's like, yeah. I'm all, that's the side girl. Oh. He goes, what? I'm like, sure enough, that's her. And then if you watched close enough, there was glancing and eye contact and just enough of once you locked onto it, you're like, oh, they're together. And the guy thought he was smart out at a public event, sporting event, that he kept the girl with the handler a couple seats away. But it's like, you fucked up. The handler came over and talked to you. That handler is not even dressed appropriately to be hanging out with that girl. Well, that girl came all by herself and just talking to your guy.
Okay, for the right money, once you've retired, could you be tempted to basically switch sides and work as a consultant using that information that you possess, like the former hacker that the government hires for internet security? Like, you would be hired, I guess, by like rich women, and they would take you out as like a Sherpa, like a fidelity Sherpa.
You know, if I thought people were going to ever, it's the same reason why I don't give homeless people $1. They're never going to fucking help. Do you know what I mean? Because that mindset that they have, whatever it could be, mental health, I know that I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah.
So same thing, if here's my mindset too. If I'm driving down the street and I see a guy beating the shit out of a girl, I'll go over and slow the beating down. Stop it. Okay, hey, look, buddy, you know, you're going to go to jail. I'm doing him as much of a favor as I'm doing to her. I mean, realistically, he could have just found out she fucking blew all of his friends. You know what I mean? Like, he might have a legitimate reason for being very upset that she would be beating his ass for the same exact fucking reason. But do the guy a favor, save her a hospital bill, because who knows, she might not have done nothing to deserve the ass whooping. And he's an asshole, but hey, I'm doing both sides a favor. But beyond that, like talking to the girl, you should leave him, do that. Fuck no, never. Once again, I worked in a strip club for fucking 8 years, and I seen dancers go home with, you know, their boyfriend come pick them up, beat the fuck out of them, and they're good-looking girls. And I look at the guy, I'm like, and I've seen them get the pep talk, and I'm going to be strong, and then it's like 6 months later, they come in with their head down. I'm like, who dropped you off? Fucking same boyfriend all over again. I'm like, you know what? I'm not wasting my fucking time. Like, people just, when they have an addiction or a bad habit, they don't really change. That's a small percentage of the population that can change their destiny. Everybody else seems to be fucking, once they're stuck on a path, they're fucking stuck on it. And they'll come back like a horse being pulled out of a barn that's on fire. Those motherfuckers will run right back into it. So to me, I'm like, well, why am I going to waste my time? I'll open the doors. If the horse wants to fucking run, I'll help facilitate it, but you got to want to do it on your own. And so I guess trying to be that other guy to help people that are, you know, in marriages like that, they're not going to fucking leave.
And that's why I just came up with a great idea for a reality show. Like, those would be the kind of wraparounds you would hear. Frank doing the horse running into the burning barn bit. He'd be doing that in between segments. But then there would be like every episode would focus on some high-profile foil, you know, like Jeff Bezos or somebody like that, you know, and everything would seem like it would be going along swimmingly. And then they'd be like, did you not hear that she just hired me as a consultant? What? She did what? And then that's when the story arcs, and then you start like going over you're looking at the blueprints and the layout of the whole situation and everything. Yeah. Then you have a team. I could be on the team, you know, because you got to have like a little team that works with you doing recon and everything like that. Yeah.
Mikey could be our secret camera guy. Just why. Yeah. You have to do some jiu-jitsu because you're going to get your ass kicked. It was like that guy Cheaters, wasn't it?
Yeah. I knew. So they filmed that in Dallas.
Oh, did they?
Yep. And
I always wonder how that guy didn't get fucked up worse than he did. You know what I mean? Because I can only imagine. I'm sitting there, and now I fucked up. If I fucked up and cheated on Mrs. Muir, and now she's confronting me, and I can imagine my life is over with, right?
Yeah.
I'm going, fuck. You know, well, divorce, actually, I'd have more money in my pocket because I could keep 50% of the shit instead of losing all of it to her. But I mean, fuck, now my kids, how many nights a week am I not going to sleep with my children? You know what I mean? Like, those are real thoughts that I'm going to sit there and go, you know, because anything else, the mind of when you're trying to get away with something, you're weighing out the consequences. I could get away with it and maybe I won't. But then all of a sudden now you're staring down the barrel. There's your wife. There's this guy with a camera crew, and it's fucking come to a head. You're fucked. And now you're like, I'm going to lose my kids. I don't want to see them. I could imagine that my urge would be to lash out. Now, obviously the person you need to lash out at is yourself. No one pointed a gun at you to tell you to stick your dick in the girl. You know what I mean? You obviously fucked up. But I can't kick my own ass. But I can look over and see him and I'm like, but I can fuck you up.
So that guy that hosted Cheaters, his name was Tommy Grand. And you'd see him out in Dallas filming and everything. Well, he used to come on my radio show and we'd talk about the show and everything. And I remember one time I asked him, the thing I always appreciated about his hosting style was if you watch those episodes, there would be the initial you got busted, right? And there's the big confrontation, all that kind of stuff.
But he didn't stop there.
No.
I've watched a couple. He fucking pokes the bear.
It would kind of calm down for a second, and then just under his breath, he'd look over at the woman and he'd go, "Geez, and next week's your anniversary, too." And she'd be like, "I forgot about son of a bitch. The next one, I forgot until he just said that. The next week is our anniversary." And then he gets a whole nother encore.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're not going to hit your wife. She's the innocent victim in this whole situation. Yeah. She didn't do nothing wrong besides you being a cheating scumbag. But you got to get somebody, you know what I mean? you feel me? Like, I'm like, well,
someone's going down with it.
Someone's going down. Like, I'm miserable. I fucked my life up. I might as well break someone's face in right now. And lo and behold, there you are.
Yeah. All right. If you listened to last week's episode, we gave everybody a little bit of homework, something to ponder, because I concluded last week's episode by presenting Frank a hypothetical.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's review the hypothetical. It involves the long-running situation with Colin Kaepernick and kneeling in protest of the national anthem and the other players that followed suit. Everybody knows that story. But my proposition was this. Of course, Kaepernick's detractors will say that is unpatriotic. Kaepernick's supporters will say no, that he's not besmirching the troops. He's opposing police brutality and cultural issues, things like that. All right, but that's not directly what this hypothetical has to do with. We both agree that, and the quick positioning is that it bothers you that Kaepernick does it. My position is it wouldn't be my form of protest because I want you to hear me talk. I have a lot of things I want to say as opposed to doing something physically, but I recognize his right to do it, and I don't have a problem with him doing it if that's his choice. We do both agree that it's legal. You know, It's not like it's something you can be prosecuted for. But that being said, here's the hypothetical. You have, you can take any one of your kids. You got 3 to choose from. And what I can guarantee you is one of these two things is going to happen. This kid, whether they become professional football players, basketball players, they're going to do something in the public eye that they're going to be in a Colin Kaepernick-like situation where they're going to be on national television, they're going to be famous, and the national anthem is somehow going to be played once a week in front of them. And they're going to do the same thing. They're taking a knee, okay, for the national anthem, which is going to upset you, even for the same reasons that Kaepernick cites. However, they are going to be voters. They're from the age of 18 all throughout their natural life. They are going to regularly and consciously exercise their right to vote. You're going to be guaranteed this. That's scenario A. Scenario B is that they stand hand over heart for the national anthem at all times, so you're never embarrassed by that. There's never an issue. No one ever thinks twice about it. They do the same thing most other people do, but they don't vote. They don't participate in the democratic process. They're just not going to be bothered to vote. Which do you choose? And I guess the follow-up question to that is, who's the better patriot? Scenario A or scenario B? You've had a week to think about it.
I did, and I went with A. And the reason being is because it's kind of like the same reason why I'm able to be extremely close friends with people that are of a religious background. And I have no problem with it because they follow their faith as well as anybody can. We're all human. We're fallible. We make mistakes. You know, even the best bodybuilder in the world has a day where he binges on donuts. I get it. You know what I mean? I don't expect someone to sit there and tell me they're a Christian and me go, well, you did this one thing one time that was very un-Christian, and feel like that blows their whole argument out of the water. So the fact that they're involved with a process that they've thought through is what I respect. So even though I would never be happy with the fact that they would take a knee, obviously in a perfect world, I'd prefer them to do both. Stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Don't use that as your platform for exposure. You know, it represents things that I feel that people have died for that are just too sacred. You know, it'd be like, you know, me making could you imagine some woman goes, oh, my son died, and, you know, God and this and that, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, your fucking son, you know, he ain't in fucking heaven. Oh, come on, you know, like, yeah. I think most people would look at me and go, holy shit, Frank, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah,
can't you just let her have it? Not the best time to lay out the atheist
learn your place,
logic.
You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
You know, have respect for those around you.
I understand that, yeah.
And so that's how I feel about taking a knee for the national anthem, is that, you know, people bled and died for that thing, and you know that thing's put across people's coffins when they come back home. You know, there's a proud father and mother, or a wife or a husband, that flag is sitting up in the room and represents something that, you know, a life that was given for this country. So that's the part that upsets me about it. But if you told me that the type of person that would stand for that blindly then has no type of involvement or knowledge of the democratic process of being an informed voter, I don't want that as a child either. And I guess to me, I would rather have the intelligent person at least I can respect because you're involved, even if I don't agree with you. And that's what, at that point, scenario A would be presenting with me. I would sit there and tell my child, I don't agree with you taking a knee, but I respect you because you at the same time, you're voting, you're involved. If I ask you about a certain topic of what's going on, you're knowledgeable on the process. Compared to my other child, let's say, would just blindly just sit there and go, okay, I stand up every time they say the pledge. I'm like, hey, so what do you think about this? I don't know what you're talking about. You have no knowledge of what's going on around you right now in the world. None. That would kill me worse.
Same. Yeah, that's how I thought that's how you would feel. But I know it's a tough thing, you know, especially for people who have more of a visceral reaction to what Kaepernick does with the anthem. But I agree with everything you just said, and for this reason, too, I'll add to this, that to me, if you're doing the show part, the anthem where we're all in lockstep and we're doing this together, but you're not doing the actual work behind it, which is those 80,000 people in the stadium, they're not all going to go to the polls with you and watch you vote and give you a big pat on the back. So if you're not putting the actual work in that's behind the democracy, then you're really kind of a poser. You know, you're really kind of, when the everybody's looking at you, you're like, hey, look at me, I got a red, white, and blue hat on or whatever, but you're not actually going to vote. And then secondly, I'll say this, when you talk about people that have flag-draped coffins, and I agree with you on that too, that you know, that is a principle that people are making ultimate sacrifices for. Take this into consideration. What are they sacrificing more for? Your right to stand for the national anthem or your right to vote? And I would argue that the right to vote is going to be much more under attack than the ability to stand for an anthem, because the anthem is only going to be as strong as the democracy behind it. You know what I'm saying? True. So
I mean, it's not like it's something that you're like, well, my grandparents' day, there was people that still didn't have the right to vote. There's still countries right now where, I mean, look what's going on in Venezuela, the voter fraud and what's happening. I mean, there's countries, it's funny because I watch a show on it and they're right. All these, you know, strongmen, dictator types get elected by 97%. You know?
Yeah.
That's the magic number.
Yeah.
You know, like 97 shows that like everybody loves us, but we realize there's going to be 3% of the people aren't, you know?
It's like when you cheat on a test. And you don't want to get 100%.
You don't want to get 100. 97 sounds good. 99, you're like, oh, you're fucking with me, right? You know, 98, 97's good. It's an A+.
I missed 2. Dang it. Well,
and how about this, too? Take this into consideration. You know, to me, voting is sort of the ante. That's sort of the price of admission to the discussion, to the argument. And so I don't, you know, you're entitled to whatever informed opinion you have. And there are informed opinions that are diametrically opposed. I mean, I can give you the informed argument for things that are things that I do not believe in. I'm just going to tell you what my side of it is, but I'm not so pompous as to say that, you know, there's only one side to the argument and it's the one that I believe. But I will say this. To me, unless you're voting, then getting indignant about a lot of this other stuff, I don't think you have nearly as much credibility as, in fact, I don't think you have credibility to the argument the way that you do if you're doing the groundwork, the legwork to participate in the democratic process. And I would say the same thing with people who are protesting the anthem. If I found out that, you know, Colin Kaepernick, or I don't know any of the other ones because I don't follow those sports, but some of those other names, if I were to talk to one of those guys and they were to lay out, no, I'm doing this because I'm against police brutality. Oh, okay, cool. How did you vote in your last municipal election? Oh, I've never voted. What? Now I'm pissed. Now I'm going to be like, hey, before you even worry about kneeling in front of a bunch of people, get out there and vote.
Well, and my issue with it, I guess my first reaction to it was, if I'm a black man in the U.S., is police brutality a factor you have to live with? It happens. I can't say that it doesn't. I see it, you know, it can occur. But really, if I'm a black guy in the U.S., you know who I'm more terrified? Other black guys. If we look statistically on who the greatest threat to my person would be, it would be another black man. So I think statistically, I just always look at factors. I kind of correlate it the same way with right now in my house. I brought this up many times before on the show. Do I have guns in my house? Yes, I do. I have more guns than I really need because I like guns. I think they're cool. I keep them locked up. But I have a couple guns that the only purpose that I have that gun is in case somebody tries to come in and harm my family. I have firepower. That being said, I know that statistically, what's the greater chance of happening to my children, them being burglarized and, you know, robbed and murdered in the middle of the night, or the fucking house burning down? Mm-hmm. Well, the house burning down, way more likely to happen. So guess what? I'm still concerned with people breaking into my house, hence I have a gun. But I also have fire extinguishers all over my fucking house.
Yeah, you've told me that before. You told me it makes you mad when you hear somebody who talks about how well armed they are, but they've never even thought to put a fire extinguisher in their
Makes
house.
no fucking sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, so wait a minute. So you have a defense for what's going to happen maybe 10% of the time, but what could happen 80% of the time you don't fucking, you're not concerned about? You're like the guy who...
do you know why? I'm sorry, I just want to cut you, but you know why? And I guarantee you the same thing is happening to draw the correlation in their mind. They're like, yeah, but it's cool when I'm holding this gun on my Instagram, holding a fire extinguisher. Yeah. Nobody's impressed with that. Hey, look, I'm all ready for fire prevention.
But then you can't use the argument that, well, it's for safety. So the same thing, like if you sit there and go, hey, police brutality is a problem, I don't want to be misinterpreted. And I'm not saying, well, yes, it's bad, but here it's worse, so let's concentrate on that. I think you should concentrate on it all. I think violence in America is a horrible thing. You know what I mean? Like anytime someone dies of a crime, if someone is beaten to death, regardless if it's your neighbor, the police, or fucking, you know, your enemy, someone still died.
And to that point, if you are concerned with police brutality, you're going to do more in voting for your city councilman or whoever's running in that election if they're making that a campaign issue and where they stand on it than you are kneeling for an anthem.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, to me, violence occurs from a bad economy.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
Yes.
You know, you don't really, I mean, Not that you don't have rich fucking people snapping on each other, but in general, the guy who's fucking dangerous is the guy who's fucking stressed out of his mind, fucking working 2 jobs because fucking minimum wage, he can't fucking support his family like it was in the 50s where guys like, well, if you graduate high school and you get a factory job, you can fucking buy a house and fucking send your kids to college. Those fucking days are gone. So to me, if you want some kind of reform on violence, like what causes violence? Desperate people that have nothing to fall back on are fucking doing stupid shit or don't give a fuck, and they're just like, they have that fuck it mindset. Like, it's like, well, you know, like, if you think about it, I mean, would you feel safer walking at night in a rich neighborhood, or do you feel safe walking at night at a poor neighborhood? I know myself, I would feel much safer walking around in a rich neighborhood. Not that some fucking crazy fucking dude can't walk out of his house and shoot me, but statistically speaking, I walk in the poor neighborhood where I've traveled the world. When I go around places where I can look around and go, oh, fuck, man, there's no street lights, fucking roads ate up. There's like 15 fucking teenagers that are hurtled around a fucking dead dog. Yeah, I might be in trouble right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is a bad situation. Like, yeah, what's the medium household? I'm like, yeah, they're all fucking poor. I'm probably going to, you know, I'm fucking have to fight now, you know?
Yeah, it's all socioeconomic, and that is all the more reason to participate in your democratic process and hold your politicians accountable. All right, Mikey, you didn't have the week to think about it because you weren't with us last week, but as you hear this discussion play out, you come down any differently on this if you have to choose one or another?
If it's you know one or the other, I guess you want the voter. The only bad thing is that it's just people. You know, people see you. You get more consequences doing the flag. So that would be like if you're scared, like that someone beat the shit out of you, you definitely like you know what I mean. Like there's that kind of factor.
Yeah, and to me, right. So that
one's visible. Like you might want. Yeah, I can see why someone would choose, you know, just stand for the flag, because then it's like, okay, well, you know, you're not going to get the shit kicked out of you, you know, one way or another, taking a knee or standing for the flag, you know, because then everyone sees you doing that. No one sees that you vote all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes, and to your point, holding these athletes and celebrities and such accountable for, you know, when we're shunning them or shaming them for kneeling for the anthem, I'd be more up for doing that if we found out they didn't vote. I mean, I think that is a proper thing to judge someone on if they're not doing it in a society. And I think that's the same. It's like we've talked about with, you know, our culture is so much of a, what do you have, you know, material possessions and things like that. And I wish that we exalted CEOs and business owners not by the kind of car they drove or the size of the yacht they owned, but I wish we exalted them in accordance with what does your average worker make? You know, what are you paying them? What's your turnover? Is your turnover super low because you run such a great place to work that no one ever wants to quit? Like, those are heroes. Those are people who should be held up and, you know, and put on the cover of Fortune magazine or whatever. All right, well, good. At least in this room,
pretty cohesive.
I think we got the right. But you know, hey, if somebody else has a counter argument for that, message us on our Phone Booth Fighting Facebook page. Lay it out. And, you know,
I would be interested to hear someone else. Yeah,
you know, articulate it, and we'll share it on the air, and we'll go over it in the coming weeks and talk about it. All right. Speaking of hot topics to talk about, Frank, and this is the best part of having Mikey back with us, it is a return engagement of Porno Mikey's headlines. Are you ready? This is the part where Mikey brings us news of the world, right?
Yeah. This one's pretty breaking and been getting a lot of people have been waiting on. It's the college admission scandal.
Yes.
So it looks like 50 people have been involved. 2 of them are actresses or CEOs. The most high-profile people are Felicity Huffman and the lady from Full House. What's her name? Lori
Loughlin.
Lori Loughlin.
She was Aunt Becky. She was John Stamos' wife on Full House. And Felicity Huffman, of course, was on Desperate Housewives. She is married to William H. Macy, who is one of the greatest actors going to me. Do you watch Shameless on Showtime?
No, I've seen a couple
it's probably my favorite show on all of television.
I wanted to watch it because I've seen a scene where he was sleeping like on a pool table.
Yeah.
And like just basically got up. I'm like, oh, it looks like an interesting character.
You would love that. You would be so into it if you saw it. Yeah, I've been watching it. I mean, it's in its 7th or 8th season. It's my favorite show on television. But anyway, so they were how did the scam work, Mikey? What were they doing?
They weren't like directly bribing the college and say, here, put the Felicity Huffman, gym in, and my kid gets into USC. It's like a guy, he runs a company.
Right?
Yeah. So he ran a company that like helps with ACT and SAT prep, and they basically bribe people to like change the answers or have like a proxy take the test for them. Some of these kids are like flying all over the place to like get their tests, to take their ACT or SAT test. Like they take it in Dubuque, Iowa, because they know a guy who will who will erase the Scantron and put in the right answers and all this
they
weird
know
shit.
A guy.
Yeah, and like all these people are so rich, and their kids are born on third base anyway. It's all, that's what's so frustrating, because it's all like status. They want their kid to get into USC or Stanford or wherever.
I like
but
the
if
part.
they look at the $75,000 to get for a SAT test, and it's like, put that in account and like send them to Cal State Northridge.
Right.
Like, what's the point?
I like the part about how they had a couple of coaches that were on the take, and they weren't like the high profile sports. It was like crew, like rowing. And so what they would do is they had scholarships, so they were involved in this scam, so they would get bribed to designate your kid for a crew scholarship, even if your kid didn't play crew. And I guess part of what I read about the story was they would take a picture of your kid and like Photoshop their face onto somebody on a rowing machine, so they could have that as part of the profile. And then what would happen is your kid, as soon as they started school, would quit the rowing team that they never participated in to begin with.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Here's this guy, I guess, explain how kind of big the scam was. I guess they had like over 300 agents working on it and everything.
That's one of the prosecutors.
Yeah, it's one of the prosecutors. Come on, Internet.
Let's get his audio going here.
William Singer will plead guilty today to charges of racketeering conspiracy, money laundering conspiracy, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and obstruction of justice. Singer allegedly ran a college counseling service and something called the Key Worldwide Foundation. Between roughly 2011 and 2018, wealthy parents paid Singer about $25 million in total to guarantee their children's admission to elite schools, including Yale, Georgetown, Stanford, the University of Southern California, the University of Texas, UCLA, and Wake Forest. Beyond enriching himself, Singer used that money to bribe college officials, Division I coaches, college exam administrators, all to secure admission for the children of his clients, not on their merits, but through fraud. Singer's foundation purported to be a charitable organization.
This is key.
But was actually a front Singer used to launder the money that parents paid him, of which he would then take a portion and dole it out as bribes to coaches and others.
Yeah, pause it there. Now, this is ultimately what's getting a lot of them caught. Is it wasn't just the bribe, but he had a bogus charitable foundation set up. So that meant they could deduct it as a charitable deduction.
Never fuck with the IRS,
so now there's a whole nother level of fraud.
That's the one way to piss off the government, is to fuck with their money.
So the question is, Frank, are you going to be able to get your money back from this Singer guy? Has the check cleared yet? Or
Man, I invest so much money in my kids and their future.
But see, you've got smart kids. Now, this is the part that, because you think about the parents.
Well, here's the thing. Why would you put, like, Bella, for example, Bella tested and she's in the AP classes or honor class or whatever. I can't remember now.
AP is the college, like,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think right now she's in honors, and then when she turns a junior and senior, they go to AP.
Yeah,
right.
Frank wasn't in the honors classes. This how you can tell it's first generation honors classes, because the generation before is going, fuck, I can't remember what it's called. I don't know what the fuck it is now.
But if Bella tested and didn't test for that class, I wouldn't want to put her in that class.
Right. She's
because then I'm like setting her up for failure.
Yes,
it's like,
what do you think
I need her just so I can sit at lunch with the other parents and brag that my kid's there. It's like, you know, the same thing. Like if Cage doesn't get a starting position on the football team because he's not good enough, I would never bribe anybody to fucking get him a starting position. Because I mean, I can imagine Mrs. Meir like, hey, let's maybe if we come and do an autograph or do this, we can get him a start. I'm like, babe, if he doesn't earn a starting position, you're only, and he gets put in a starting position because of your influence.
He's gonna get the shit kicked out.
He's getting the fucking shit kicked out of him. Now we got to stand on the field and watch. So now you can brag, or my kid's a starting linebacker. But I'm like, oh, this is going to be ugly.
How long is it going to be before it's exposed? A day? I mean, it's like it's not going to be any time at all, and that's going to be apparent.
I guess when I first heard this, I wouldn't have felt so. I would have felt bad for the parents had their kids tested properly and be like, hey, you know, our kids aren't athletic enough, and that's an advantage, but we just need to get them in the college part. But they have the ACT and the SAT stuff down, but you can only accept so many non-student athletes, you know, so, you know, we kind of faked it a little bit, that their athleticism to get in there. I guess I would have been, not that obviously you're still cheating, but I'd have been like, well, your kid's smart. You're just trying to get them in there so they can get that education and have opportunities open to them, and you're just, you know, success begets success. But the fact that your kid can't even fucking pass the ACT or in the SAT, and like, well, your kid's stupid and unathletic, and you think they deserve to take the spot of another deserving child? No, now you lost me, man. Now it's like, okay, no, fuck you.
To give you an idea of the mindset of these kids, Mikey, grab the link that has Lori Loughlin's daughter on it. Yeah. Now, this girl, Frank, is the girl, the woman from Full House. This is her daughter. Now, she is married to a fashion designer, this guy Massimo something or another. That Massimo line Target carries.
Yeah, I think I wear some. Wait, no. I've seen Massimo.
Yeah, yeah. It's a. I mean, he's done well apparently.
Well, if you're in fucking Target, you're making money.
But this is their daughter, and she is what they call. Are you familiar with this new term, influencer? Social media influencers.
I've just recently started hearing the word.
Yeah. So she's an influencer. This is her, and she already has. Her name is Jade something or another. And Olivia Jade is her name, and she has 2 million subscribers on her YouTube channel.
How old is she?
Well, I mean, she's
in college, was 17, 18, something.
She's already had plastic surgery.
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Oh fuck yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. Holy shit! Well, look at her face.
This is her blog from her YouTube channel, where and this is preceding the bust from yesterday, obviously. But this is her talking about her aspirations or lack thereof for attending the University of Southern California. Give this a listen. Buffering.
She's a bit of a social media celebrity already. She has talked on her page, on her Instagram page, as I understand it, about her aspirations in college, let's say. Let's listen here.
I don't know how much of school I'm going to attend, but I'm going to go in and talk to my deans and everyone and hope that I can try and balance it all. But I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school.
Listen to that dummy.
So what do we
pause
know
there, Mike.
about?
How embarrassed would you be if that was your kid?
Oh, fuck me. I'd go live in fucking Minnesota somewhere. Just go hide. That's a fucking. She's just.
I want the experience of like, just go to a game. You live in LA already.
I don't know how many classes I'll actually attend. I mean, imagine verbalizing that like that. And the thing is,
and then she took someone's spot.
Yes,
yeah. And that's a fucking atrocity.
And see, as a parent, it's not. And you know, okay, I don't have kids, but I could imagine being in a situation where, like, if you see your kid, kind of like the scenario you just laid out, Frank, where the kid is struggling and doing their best, and they're right there on the cusp, and you know they need a little extra push to get over the finish line, but this means so much to them to get a degree in something from this place.
That parent, I wouldn't have been upset with.
Yeah, it still would have been right.
Because I could put myself in that situation.
You can,
if my kid is just a tenth of a second, or just one score behind, and I can see the effort, the drive, the will, the want, be like, well, fuck, is there any way I can influence it just a little bit more, give it that fucking nudge?
But this nothing.
Fuck this shit.
And this right here is a testament to what 17 years of your parenting has done up to this point, and now you endeavor to scam a institution of higher learning. Jeez, can you believe that?
Yeah, very frustrating. Like, I don't think there's anybody who's come out and said, "Now hold on,
right?
Let's see their side of it." Everyone's just bashing the shit out of these people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, didn't you have that? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Very embarrassing. What else, Mikey? Got anything else embarrassing there?
Let's see. Oh, we got a little bit of video from, if you watched the Michael Jackson documentary.
Yes, very embarrassing.
Yeah, very embarrassing.
Yeah, now Frank still has not seen Leaving Neverland on HBO, right?
Yeah, I got to watch
that's
it.
still in the queue.
Because we've only seen about half of the first episode.
Okay, in your house. Yeah, because we still have that to discuss in the coming weeks.
I think Mrs. Mir is still freaking out about the R. Kelly one.
Yeah, she's not done being outraged over R. Kelly. They're coming so fast now. It's like you don't have time to be outraged. Well, the Leaving Neverland, the documentary, focuses on 2 kids. And one of the kids, James Safechuck, of course, they're both adults now, but both of them claim to have been molested by Michael Jackson. This is some unearthed security surveillance video, security camera footage from 1989. A Zales jewelry store in Simi Valley, California, captured Michael Jackson and the young James Safechuck, who I think was like 9 or something at the time, jewelry shopping. And this is important, Frank, because in the documentary, Safechuck talks about how he was really into jewelry as a kid. Michael Jackson would buy him jewelry for sexual favors, and that at one point actually bought him like a wedding ring. So they had they exchanged vows and had a ceremony. Let's roll the tape of them jewelry shopping here. I think it's silent footage, but
sorry,
that's okay. That was the chime noise to let us know that which one was Jackson in the video. And then see, there's Safechuck, the little kid right there.
That's a good.
Yeah, Michael Jackson's got a disguise on. He's wearing a fake mustache.
He looks like Mario from Luigi there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, probably if, word gets back, Frank, that some grown man had an exchange of vows with one of your kids, you probably have not had your eye on the ball for far too long at that point. That's probably a real red flag, if you hear that.
That just blows my mind. I can't even Jesus Christ.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have a lot more to talk about when we watch Leaving Neverland. Now, you have seen.
You know what? This is the part that confuses me about pedophiles. It's someone like Michael Jackson, right? So you're diddling little kids. Aren't you terrified they're gonna fucking talk? Like, I mean, here's my experience with little kids and how well they keep a secret. Fucking Cage. I'm in my garage, and we're cleaning. Cage is probably about 4 years old at this time. He's not in diapers, but he's still a toddler, right? And so I was going through my safe, and Cage saw one of my knives and was like, "Oh, Dad, that's kind of cool." I'm like, "Oh, would you like to see it?" Yeah. I'm like, so being funny because, he's a 4-year-old, I'm about to hand him a knife. I said, "Make sure you don't tell your mother now." Like, being funny with my son, a joke that he's not really understanding, but I get it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're doing crazy shit that mom should know about, right? So I open up the knife. I sit him on my lap. He's looking at it. And, of course, he's like, "Holy shit, this is amazing. I'm touching a knife," right? So then I put the knife away. He gets up. He's behind me. Well, the garage door is open, and Mrs. Mir comes pulling up. Well, as she's pulling up, my son bolts towards her, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" It's a moving vehicle. Like, stop. So I mean, obviously she stops. He runs up and he grabs onto the side panel to pick her. He's not even letting her get the fuck out of the truck. He goes, "Mommy, Dad said not to tell you." And I'm sitting there, and then now she looked at me and she goes, "So now we're keeping secrets from each other?" I'm like, "I showed him a knife. It was a joke." She was not a very fucking funny joke. I'm like, note to self, never trust your children or a child to ever keep a fucking secret.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Well, here's the thing. They're not, nothing is, and this gets into because Mikey's got the R. Kelly thing, the interview he just did queued up too. We're going to talk about that. But this whenever those people, and I mean by that, I mean like accused pedophiles, try to say to you, because this was part of R. Kelly's argument, how stupid would I be to do this? How stupid would that be?
See, that argument would actually win with me, because I would be thinking, yeah, no fucking idiot's going to trust a 12-year-old to keep a fucking... Yes. I don't trust other full-grown people to keep secrets.
Yes, but they're not thinking from a place of logic. That's like saying to a heroin addict, "Oh, yeah, how stupid would you be to shoot up drugs and blow all your rent money?" Yeah, you're right. That would be so stupid. No one would do that. Well, yeah, nobody that wasn't a junkie. Let's. Is that where we were going with
Yeah,
R.
we're at
Kelly?
the R. Kelly,
All right.
yeah.
Where do we start first? Because
here's the freak out interview that's getting a lot of.
R. Kelly did an interview
play.
with Gayle King on CBS this morning.
Going to jail.
Yeah, yeah. Let's listen to R. Kelly keep his composure here.
Don't want to get blown.
There's guys in jail who are excited they get to rape him.
I'm fighting for my life. Do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You're killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it.
Well,
Y'all just don't want to believe the truth.
owe $160,000 in back child support.
At this point, we briefly paused the interview to give Kelly a moment. His publicist helped calm him down.
I hope this camera keep going.
I like this.
We're gonna
This
let
is
the
not
camera keep
true.
rolling.
They're still rolling,
This is-
and they're
that
trying to
doesn't even
like
make sense.
sponge off the
Why would I
sweat
hold
while
all
he's.
these women? Their
still
mothers and
yelling.
fathers told me, we're going to destroy your career.
Yeah. That's where he got into the this doesn't make sense, use your common sense, logic. Yeah.
You know what? If a guy has a girl accuse him of shit, you know what I mean? That's like the Bill Cosby thing. They said, oh, they're out to destroy me. I'm like, hey, if it's 1, 2, you know, maybe you got the worst fucking luck of anybody ever met. You got 50 motherfuckers saying that you're a fucking scumbag. Chances are you're a scumbag. You know?
Well, and there's also and the kids are missing for long periods of time too. I mean, that's a part of all this too.
You know, when we watched this, I was wondering, like, he manipulates the kids into thinking, like, you know, your parents don't care about you the way
Right.
I care about you.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, like, how do they? There seems like only bad, evil people have that power to, like, find someone who they can manipulate. Like, I can't think of anyone who's like could manipulate someone into like doing good. It's always like they, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
there's never been someone who sees someone who's in a bad situation, like, oh, you know what? You know, they don't care about you the way this person, and like gets them out of it. It just seems like always evil people have like this like weird sixth sense power to like or like serial killers. They like have a power to like pick someone who's gonna like be an easy
well, I
victim.
think if you're
like,
going to
you know what I
manipulate
mean?
a human mind like that,
Yeah.
for your own need, you have to be a little bit of a sociopath.
Yeah.
Have a lack of empathy for other people.
I think it's also two sides of the same coin, because if you're persuasive but you're doing it for good, it's not manipulation, it's influencing. But it's a positive influence.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
I guess Anthony Robbins,
Yeah.
you know, that's
I
an
guess,
example.
yeah. Yeah.
He's used his power of influence for good.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's like the fine line between a motivational speaker and a cult leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, you'll be excited about this, Frank. Now, it's the return of the Clarys. The Clarys are back,
Oh, these
right?
motherfuckers.
Yeah. Parents of the Year, the Clarys. I think Mikey has a little video of this. They are
They just
reacting.
need to commit seppuku, and then I'll take their apology as parents.
They're the parents of one of the girls who lives with R. Kelly, and they haven't seen their daughter in a number of years. They were part of the documentary, but they had got to cue up the video. Oh, the audio's down there, Mikey. Yeah. They're the parents who basically.
His real interest, in their words, was a little more sinister. Parents of one of R. Kelly's live-in girlfriends say she is trapped in what they call a monstrous situation. Only on CBS this morning, Alice and Angelo Clary reveal why they are now afraid for their daughter's Azriel's life. It is their first interview since the scathing Lifetime documentary R. Kelly. Azriel Clary met the singer back in 2015. She was 17 at the time. Her parents claim that Kelly promised to help launch her singing career. They say that since then, that his interest, in their words, was a little more sinister. I spoke with them yesterday about how this all started, and they say that just 3 days after meeting Kelly, their daughter went to a hotel to meet him without their permission. They were furious and went knocking on hotel doors to find her.
What she said was an audition. Why would you trust me, y'all? I would put myself in a predicament and not call y'all if something wasn't right.
She's saying you're messing up my chances.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what she said.
that's what-
This is my opportunity. This is my big break.
Tempers eventually cooled, and the Clarys say they actually developed a professional relationship with R. Kelly over the next few months, even pitching various business deals,
all of which he rejected. The Clarys say the singer had his own proposal. Azriel joined him on his tour full time.
He flew us into Chicago. We sat with him in his studio. We met with him. And he basically told us, you know, yeah, I'm starting tour. You know, basically, y'all need to make a decision.
All right. Just one observation, Frank. Far be it from me to critique somebody else's style or wardrobe, because I realize I appear a little offbeat. Yeah. However, when I go to court or you know, I have to I don't know, attend someone's wedding or something like that, I'm still me. You're going to still tell it's me, but I've got on a suit and tie. I'm not wearing like a studded bracelet and chains to you know, Mikey's kid's bar mitzvah or whatever. If you're going to do a nationally televised interview about R. Kelly molesting your underage daughter, do you dress like one of R. Kelly's backup dancers? I'm thinking that's not the time.
You almost want to look like you're going to a funeral. You would pick like...
I think conservatively dressed would have been the... Yeah. If I was their PR person, be like, hey, you know, nice hairstyle, let's wear a nice outfit. That if you were going to church on Sunday, let's dress like that. Let's look, you know, humble, and let's be conservative, and let's just not... You know, this is obviously a very tragic situation.
Yeah. You still do you, as the kids say, but let's not try to let's not create let's not style to the point that it's visually distracting from your message. Anyway, I
agree with you.
Probably not everybody's focus,
look,
but
when people sit there, you can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah,
I think that's the dumbest fucking reply I've ever heard. I absolutely judge you on how you dress.
Well, listen, and in
your
this
makeup,
case,
your clothing, the situation, like I'll look around, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to judge you because I can't judge you for your skin color. Can't judge you for how tall you are. Those aren't factors you're in control of. So you could be an asshole, you might not be an asshole. But if you dress like an asshole or you dress like an egomaniac that's very self-centered, I'm like, oh, you're an egomaniac that's very self-centered.
And also consider the occasion. Like if we're doing television to promote our podcast or something, I'll be completely in character. But if the local news is coming out to talk about how, you know, my house burned down and I'm destitute, I don't need to go run and get my wacky fedora or top hat to put on first before I make everybody try to feel bad for me. Plus, we already have the Clarys judged as horrible parents here. So
yes,
yeah. Now you mentioned advice from your PR person. This is my new favorite character in the R. Kelly story, Frank. I bet you haven't seen this guy yet. Have you seen R. Kelly's new crisis manager?
No.
I have never seen a crisis manager yet that, to me, it makes sense that they're bringing these people in. First of all, I don't know how this industry got started, this crisis management industry. But even when, I don't know if you remember back to, it was one of the times Chael was on with us, but Chael and I happened to be sitting next to each other at one of the UFC press conferences where
John Jones had the girl?
Yeah, when he tested positive for something, and I think it was when his fight with Cormier got called off, you know, day before, whatever it was. Anyway, John comes out there, but he has a crisis management expert or whatever come out first. And the very first words out of her mouth, she's the first one to speak, and she says, I think you all know who I am, and I'm here to say, and then she never introduces herself. And Chael and I looked at each other. I go, I don't know who this is. Jill looks at me and goes, I don't know who this is either. Like, what does this woman think? And it always just ends up looking back. Well, anyway, R. Kelly now has Daryl Johnson, the crisis expert manager. Now, he was on Don Lemon's show on CNN a couple of nights ago, and I think if you cue it up, Mikey, to the 1 minute mark, tell me how you think, see if you can pick anything out here as far as how this guy's doing so far.
Get in touch with to arrange a meeting as well.
I'll get in touch with him tomorrow.
Okay. He's facing 10 charges of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. It's after 2 decades, Daryl, of constant accusations. These women are lying?
I'm not calling anybody a liar. What I would say is...
Okay, Frank, your line is, these women are lying. We're going to role play. And I'm the crisis manager. Okay, these women are lying. That's your line in 3, 2, 1.
So these women are lying?
I'm not calling anybody a lawyer. Not off to a great start, right?
No.
I'm not
That's one of those things, again, where it's like, hey, did you do it? Well, no, motherfucker. If right now, look, I'm telling you right now, if someone comes and tells me that I diddled their child, and they go there and go, Frank Mir, did you touch that little kid? I'm going to be like, fuck you, fuck no, fuck, what the hell are you talking about?
Okay, let's
touch
try,
a child.
Let's try that one. So your line will be, so he's not a pedophile? Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
So he's not a pedophile?
I'm not calling anybody a Presbyterian. Right? Now, that would be bad enough if that was the only one. Keep playing, Mikey. Keep rolling.
To those people who have brought the facts, their attorneys, present your facts, and Mr. Kelly will have his day in court. Now, if I was a judge, me personally, and I thought a guy was a known pedophile over the last 30 years, why is probation even on the table?
Pause it.
If this...
He meant bail. No, he meant bail. He said if the guy was a known pedophile, he meant to say why would bail even be an option, because they gave him bail, but he said probation. The only people that are on probation are convicts, and R. Kelly isn't a convict because he got off on these charges to begin with. Now, my favorite part about this clip is this is one of these guys who's got like sort of he's got like a faux articulation. You know what I'm saying? So he sounds well spoken, but he's constantly reaching for the wrong words. So there's this moment in the video, if you're watching our Phone Booth Fighting Facebook YouTube channel, you can see this. But there's this moment where he goes, back it up 30 seconds, Mikey, so we can see it again. I just want you to see he's got this smirk before he says it, because he thinks in his mind, all right, I'm about to make my ace point. Here it comes. This is going to sound really smart when I say this. Okay, play.
2 decades, Daryl, of constant accusations. These women are lying?
I'm not calling anybody a lawyer. What I would say is,
all right, watch his face.
Those people who have brought the facts, their attorneys, present your facts, and Mr. Kelly will have his day in court. Now, if I was a judge, me personally,
see it?
And I thought a guy was a known pedophile over the last 30 years, why is probation even on the table?
Pause it. Why is probation even on the table?
Correct him to be on the...
No.
I'd have been confused.
Yeah.
I was confused till you clarified it. I'm all, wait a minute.
Yeah.
They're talking about sentencing? He's already guilty? Like,
Don
did I
Lemon,
miss a whole aspect of the trial?
Don Lemon didn't correct him, and I don't know if it's because he wasn't listening that closely, he didn't pick up on it, or he just wanted to let the guy, hang himself, basically. Yeah. But I was like, you're paying this person to make it better, and they're actually making this worse. Now, I personally think that when you get as desperate as R. Kelly, when you've got that many accusers, and more importantly, you're out of money, so no legit person is actually hanging around because you can't come up with enough money to pay him. You're seeing the same thing with Bill Cosby right now. If you've seen his publicist/crisis manager or whatever, that dude's about as much of an inept idiot as this one is. But, these are the kinds of people that come out, like when you're just at the last throes of freedom. These are the kinds of people that come out to represent.
Well, I mean, I think even if R. Kelly wasn't broke and it wasn't a financial issue, I mean, I know that we're supposed to go, you're innocent until you're proven guilty, but in this situation, because it's so many years and so long, I wouldn't want to be involved in it. I would not want to stake my name on, he deserves to be, someone needs to represent him. I'm like, hey, he has that right. It ain't going to be me.
Well, and to his point about what he meant to say, bail, even though he said probation, he thought that was such a great point. Well, if they really thought he was a pedophile, why would what he meant to say, bail, even be on the table? It's always on the table. Yeah. Everybody gets bail.
Basically, as far as I know, bail is more contingent upon the fact, one, are you, like, if you're a murderer, they might pull it because, this motherfucker.
Maybe they will.
But
you
even
may
people
still get bail.
Yeah, you still get bail.
Because you're accused of it, you're not convicted
True.
of it.
But I think the strongest indicator, as far as I know, from what I've heard on getting bail, is whether you're a flight risk or not.
Yeah.
If they think, okay, this is some rich guy that nobody knows who he is, he could fucking jump on a private plane and go to fucking South America, and we're never going to find this guy.
Yeah.
I don't think R. Kelly's much of a flight risk. I mean,
oh, that's where you're wrong, Frank. This is a guy who literally tells us that he believes he can fly. That is the definition of a flight risk.
Dick. But, you know, R. Kelly
We didn't even rehearse that.
No, that was
That's
good.
how unscripted we are. That's how well we work together at this point.
I'm pretty sure he'll have a hard time fucking hiding in Mexico. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Where's that guy going to go that no one knows who he is?
Because he's like tall too, right? He's like a 6'3".
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Famous
Wild
musician.
30
and
years
now
of being a public
internationally
eye.
famous fucking court case going on.
Yeah.
The guys, you know what I mean? Like, you know, this isn't back in the 1940s when Nazis can go to Argentina and hide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You
Nowadays.
know what? I meant to say that when you were talking about the whole thing about, you know, cell phones and everybody's got a camera and, you know, you got to worry about what's out there personally. I meant to bring this up then, but, you know, I did think one thing that technology has totally killed off is the ability to have the secret family. Remember when you'd hear about the traveling salesman who has the whole other family in Ohio? Can't do that anymore.
No.
They'd turn up on Facebook. They would be like some recommended friend for your wife or something, and you'd put two and two together. That'd be the end of that. Yeah.
That happened to a kid in my high school.
Secret family?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. I didn't find out about it until like well after I graduated. So I don't know much about it, but I heard like the kid had that same situation. Dad was like,
Always
2 lives.
on
Yeah. Well, I travel. I go to business here, and I go to business there. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah.
Well, give me more Daryl Johnson. I want more of this guy. I hope he does. Maybe we get him on the podcast. He's doing a lot of interviews.
Oh, turn the volume up.
Why have the doors be kicked in?
Well, I mean, I think that's a legal process. I don't think that speaks to guilt or innocence.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if a judge over these years thought that this is what it was, you got enough to indict, just have zero bond.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, he couldn't come up with $161,000 in child support, $100,000 in bail money, and the rest. Who came up with that money?
Let me say this first. Mr. Kelly walked into court with $60,000. It was about those children. That's what they said. He said, Judge, I have 60 grand. They said, nope, we want 161, 637.18. That's what we want. Not a penny less. He went to jail. But it was about the kids. If it was about the kids, you get those kids to 60.
That's how child support works, Daryl.
I don't understand what argument he's making right now. Catch me up to speed. Are you confused?
Okay.
I'm
R.
so
Kelly,
confused
no, here's the thing.
right
Here's
now.
what happened. R. Kelly owed $160,000
I get that.
in child support. So in addition to everything else that he's got on the table, when you go into court, if you owe that kind of child, they can take you into custody right then, which they did. He got arrested again.
That makes
for
total
the child
sense
support.
to me.
Yeah.
His argument is that they should have just took the 60 grand that'd have been better for the kids than to punish them. Like, that's not how the laws work, asshole. It's just, I mean, you need to pay the amount. Like, I can't imagine. I mean, fuck, if I got a speeding ticket, I'm like, well, 700. Well, I mean, fuck, take 500 for it. Like,
this isn't Pawn Stars.
Yeah. We're not. Who told you the judge is here to fucking negotiate with your ass?
I love the look on this guy's face because before he makes the points, he just smiles like he's you imagine like the check coming at dinner, it's $125 and he looks where he's like, all right, I've got $55. Now it's about paying the tab, right? Okay. 55.
Well, you could tell like this guy he had his, but he thought about that point in the shower. And
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. If he asked me this,
yes.
and he's just like super excited.
That's
to give
why
out
I
those
love
points.
this guy.
Yeah.
You're right, Mikey. Because Okay, play some. See, we'll let him finish out. He's got another minute or so.
And then you work something out. They didn't want that.
So who came up with the money?
Fans.
Fans
came up with the money.
So no one you know personally?
I don't know anybody.
He knows personally.
Yeah. Plausible deniability. I know nothing.
Probable deniability.
I don't think he knows. Okay.
Bro, have you ever defended me and you say probable deniability anywhere near my name, you're fucked as my friend. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Don, let me just say one thing. I would never accuse Frank Mir of being a lawyer. And why is it? And why is parole on the table?
Probable deniability. Why would you say that? So are you saying there's nefarious ways in which he came across these funds? I mean, well, I don't know shit. I'm like, wouldn't it have been just easier to be like, I'm not aware of the financial. I mean, just say, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Like, those are his finances, where they came from. I'm not privy to his, financial status. Okay.
Give me a little more. I think he asked him about Aaliyah too. That was a funny moment.
So after all these years, when you think it's a remix to Ignition, all of these songs, right, that he has, R. Kelly can't come up with that amount of money?
You know what?
R. Kelly's made millions.
Michael Jackson made billions.
Pause it.
He died broke.
Not a good time to invoke the Michael Jackson analogy.
Yeah.
Every turn with this guy.
It's you couldn't write if you were making a movie. You couldn't and you wrote this.
Yeah,
you'd get notes back on. Okay, come on,
this character. This
no,
is
you're
too
absolutely
cartoonish.
right. Right, dude, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
If you told me this was a movie, I'd be like, all right,
Okay,
come on, guys.
Yeah.
You're exaggerating the fucking guy's stupidity here a little bit. Like, chill out. That's not believable.
Okay,
keep going.
I mean, the guy couldn't have. I'm sure I could have Googled on my phone celebrities who died broke and pulled up a couple names that would have been a little bit less.
Celebrities who died broke who also are not accused of molesting underage children.
Tyler Perry had to fly her body and pay for her funeral. This is what I understand. Now, this is what I heard. And so things happen. I mean, things happen. You know, R. Kelly he said, you know, he doesn't read that well. He said that, you know, he's not the best writer.
So he mismanaged his money. He spent it all.
I'm not gonna say he spent it all. A lot of people took advantage of him too.
Okay. So you set up this interview with Gayle King, and we all saw this moment right here. I want you to look at this.
Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my around. I hope this camera keep going.
No, we're gonna let the camera keep rolling.
This is not, doesn't even make sense. Why would I hold all these?
So what do you think of that? Is R. Kelly in control of himself as this crisis person? What do you think of that moment in the interview?
If I was facing 7 years in the state penitentiary, I'm not going to say I would act like that, but I mean, how do you act when you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison? I thought it was a real moment.
You think that helped him?
Well, you know what? We'll see. At the end of the day, people are going to judge whatever
That's
they
your
think
opportunity
anyway.
to put a spin on it. Ask me. Watch, stop.
Yeah.
If you're the PR guy, you're on his side. Now, I'm not saying I want to be the guy to defend him, but shit, I could have done a much better job than this asshole.
Yeah.
Ask me real quick.
Do you think that doing the interview helped him prove his innocence?
I absolutely think so. It shows that a man who truly feels tormented by being accused of things that he absolutely did not do, you're seeing an innocent man up there freaking out because his life is on the line. Like, why sit there and, I mean, like, if you're on his side, why are you even mincing words? Why are you like, well, we'll see? It's like, no.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
If you're my guy, you better absolutely, either A, do you believe I'm innocent? Yes. All right, well, then let's go. No, I don't think you're innocent. Well, I can't fucking have you work for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you doubt, if we're not on the same team here, that's why there's lawyer-client confidentiality, because I have to be able to, you can believe me, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So you can sit there and know that when you go up there, you feel comfortable defending me because you're like, I know this asshole's really fucking innocent because he had nothing to lose to tell me he was guilty because he could have sat there and go, no, I fucking did the shit, but can you get me off? No, I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, hey, obviously I can't fucking, you know, testify what you told me, but now that I know that you're really a fucking asshole, I'm not going to defend you, you know, like just the way it works. So this guy, if he takes that job, means you believe he's innocent. You can't fucking be going down the middle of the fucking street. You know, it's like you have that job, you feel that he's innocent. Unless you don't, and then you're just a scumbag that's even worse because you think he's guilty and you're trying to manipulate people to think he's innocent, you're fucking just as bad as he is now.
I just don't know how far you have to fall to end up getting this guy as your crisis manager.
I mean, I guess I was thinking, you know, not to judge by, you know, their race, but I was thinking like you got to go outside your circle for someone like this, you know, and just have like some more professional, you know what I mean? Like you can't just go to like someone already in your crew to like do this. But I guess if he's broken, he's out of his, you know, he's last limit. You know what I mean? Like you think
I see what you like. You want to go like old grandma kind of, or old grandpa kind of,
or somebody, or like get a female lawyer to really like, you know, just
somebody that you could look at and go, okay, well, this person can't be an R. Kelly sycophant. Like they probably don't even know who he was before. Any
like
of this
because I mean, to me, like watching the Michael Jackson thing too, like. You know, if Michael Jackson and R. Kelly are doing this, like they have a sickness, but like they're people who are facilitating all this, they're almost worse because they're sane.
No, they are worse.
Like they're sane and they're doing this for the money. So
if
like
you're
you gotta,
fucking miswired, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
Now, you're miswired. You know, you're a Ted Bundy. You're fucking wired that way. Like, it's horrible. Got to lock you up and keep the rest of us fucking safe, but you're wired that way. It's like, you know, whether you're a homosexual or heterosexual, you're just wired that way. Some people are just wired that way. You know what I mean? So if you're a pedophile, you're like a drug addict. You're wired that fucking way. But if you're like the person who enables that person, like, well, you got a normal fucking brain. You know it's wrong. Where the drug addict, like, it's like, yeah, you know, the drug addict goes and robs my house. I'm not happy about it, but I realize that you're a drug addict. Now I'm going to take steps to protect myself from you and make sure that I don't get harmed by you. But if all of a sudden his fucking mom comes over to fucking let him in, I'll be like, well, you're not the drug addict. You have a normal functioning brain. Why are you enabling the fucking guy who's fucking mentally unhealthy? Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm happy about it, not that you get a pass, but I understand when you're fucked up in the head.
I got an idea. I know what we should do, Frank, since I am Daryl Johnson. Am I saying his name right? Is it Daryl Johnson? I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm his new biggest fan. I think we should have Mikey try to book him for the podcast. Now, would you be up to trying your first guest booking?
Yeah, trying to reach out,
Yeah, now, if you look on R. Kelly's Twitter page, I believe Daryl Johnson's me.com email address is posted there for bookings. So maybe you can contact him and tell him, you know, we would just like to have him come on and present some probable deniability. And if nothing else, even if you won't come on, I'll bet his email response will be fun to read.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I maybe this is the snobby side of me, but sometimes when I hear people talk and I go, I just have a high school education, graduated high school. I've never been to college. So when I sit there and I see somebody who's in a professional, which would sit there and go, well, you have to have an education. You're going to be the way you speak, your pronunciation, you know, your vernacular should be at a certain level. When I hear someone talk or try to articulate thoughts, and I go, oh fuck, I'm way smarter than you, but I'm a professional fighter. You know what I mean? I do a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, my level of intelligence is acceptable for the career that I've chosen.
Yeah.
Commentary, I talk about fighting. We're good. You know what I mean? Like, punching people in the face. I get it. You know, I can express that. But I'm not trying to go be an attorney or a PR individual that works and speaks. It's like, so you're going to go and talk in front of all those people? Yeah. I'm like, so you're going to think this through, right?
Well, I already got a suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I guess that's like where I sit there and go, that's a way, I guess I kind of knock you off in my brain. If I sit there and go, okay, you know, it'd be like, you know, a politician speaking. I expect you to be more educated than I am. I feel like that should be acceptable. I don't think someone can run into politics and be less educated than I am. If you are not as intelligent as I am and you're trying to run shit or control people or influence in some way, then I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, you're not smarter than I am. You know what I mean? You need to be more intelligent than I am to run those jobs. And I would think a PR individual, when it comes to public speaking, would have to be more intelligent than I am at it.
To draw a martial arts analogy, it's like, you know, I have a blue belt, so I can talk blue belt strategy. Like, I could coach you to do blue belt things, right? And maybe I understand a little bit of conversational aspects of being a higher belt. But if I'm going to put myself out there as like a black belt level coach, I'm going to get caught up. Like, when you start talking to me, it's going to become readily apparent when I'm like, yeah, well, you know, you hit him with the Baron Solo sweep.
But I guess we both have those personalities because, like, even in my world, if we talk MMA, I pretty much feel comfortable speaking to anybody. I mean, you could put Greg Jackson there, you know, Crazy Bob Cook. If you want to talk fight strategies and what guys are going through, not that I can't still learn things, but I can go stride for stride. Sit there and go, well, this, well, yeah, well, you ever thought about that and this, and go back and forth, and technique, leverage, timing, rhythm, you know. But if we talk about like gi jiu-jitsu, I'm not that level. There's times that I've been down, putting the gi on and going to Roberts, and guys start talking. I look around, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And when people sit there, and it's almost like a disclosure I have to give guys, like, hey, I'm really good at jiu-jitsu in a fight. The basics I'm really sound at, but a lot of the new intricacies of the lasso guard or the some of the berimbolo stuff, I'm not your guy. You know what I mean? I'm just like everybody else. I'm trying to learn about it myself. Like, oh, that's interesting. Let me sit. But I wouldn't sit there and try to I had that happen to me. Guys booked me for a seminar. I'm like, cool. So I'll do grappling submissions with an MMA influence. Like, well, we're a gi school. Why would you want to book me to a gi school? Well, because you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm all, yeah, there's different kinds of black belts, man. I'm all, Robert's a world champion with a gi on. Why don't you talk to my buddy here? You know what I mean? Like, that's who you want to bring. And I actually passed it along. Like, hey, Drysdale, these guys want a gi instruction. I'm not going to be so, of an egomaniac to sit there and go, well, fuck, I'm Frank Mir. And it's like, I could fake it. I'm sure I could. I could bullshit my way through it, but it's not genuine.
Yeah, you're not going to.
So so I guess I would never want to. People say fake it till you make it. I'm like, I'm not too much into that. Kind of stay in your lane. What you're comfortable with, what you're good at. Be honest with people, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then you don't disappoint people. Because I hate that when people overpromise. Hey, how many people I've lost relationships with because like, oh, I can do this, I got this for you, I got this for you. And at the end of the day, you're like, well, you didn't really fuck me over, but you weren't capable of doing half the shit you just fucking said you were capable of doing.
It also matters what cause you're representing. Because if it's something noble, everybody's going to give you more of the benefit of the doubt. Be like, well, his heart's in the right place. He's trying to do a good thing. If you're on there trying to defend R. Kelly, sorry, scrutiny's going to be a lot tighter. There's going to be a lot less of a margin for error. All right, nicely done, Mikey. Porno Mikey with his news headlines. Let us know how the booking goes. Okay. Maybe next week, if nothing else, we'll get a response from Daryl Johnson. Yeah, we can share on the air. All right, Frank, tell them about the Amazon banner.
Mrs. Mir still hasn't used it.
Oh, come on, man.
But I use it a lot. See all the salt packets being bought for the...
Yeah.
That's me.
Okay. We appreciate that.
My soft water is working great.
Good.
So, hey, if you click on phoneboothfighting.com, we have, you scroll down just a little bit, there's an Amazon banner. By clicking on that, it transports you right to the Amazon website. You can do all your shopping you want, and then what happens is that a small percentage of your purchases come back here to Phone Booth Fighting to help us out with the show.
What if people want to follow us on social media?
Well, if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, it's Phone Booth Fighting. If you follow us on Snapchat or Twitter, it's just Phone Booth Fight.
That's it. For Frank Mir and for Porno Mikey doing a great job producing, I'm Richard Hunter, and we'll see you right back here next week for another edition of Phone Booth Fighting.